Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF Everything in That Shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF Everything. Spoiled Rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome and welcome back, everybody.
Hey, hey, hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben
on Spoiled Rotten.
on that shelf.
Boom. Well, yeah, this is us doing season 4 in real time. The last episode just came out last night for reference, or yesterday, maybe not at nighttime, but I saw it last night. So
Yep.
we are doing just a regular old spoiler review of season 4 of The Boys.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had one of these episodes. It feels good to be back on top.
Something current.
Yeah, something
All right.
extremely current. We're gonna follow up next week too with our episode. We'll talk about like that later on in the show. But yeah, I'm super hyped to talk about this season. If it's yeah, what do you think right off the top?
I think it's a good season. I think I think it was more of a complaint about the Bear season 3, but I feel like it applies to this. Is
Hmm.
that it felt like they were kind of spinning wheels for next season,
Yeah, yeah.
um, which is fine. I don't think that was bad, but obviously we'd spoken in previous episodes of whether or not they were kind of losing their perceived grasp of what capitalism can do to people, and I don't think they lost that. I don't
No.
think they lost the anti-capitalist thing.
Mhm.
Maybe they did go a bit cartoonish on some of the right-wing critiques this time, but I do think it was balanced out by a character like Sister Sage.
Right.
She had that moment where she tells Victoria Newman, "Oh, I cured this like very rare case of cancer for my grandmother, but it didn't matter because doctors just laughed me out of the room
Mhm.
because I'm a woman and I'm black." Well, she was a kid at the time, but
Mhm.
like, yeah, like it's. I think that anecdote helps me remember, like, okay, they do get it, like they get what, that this isn't just like a, oh, best idea wins scenario.
Mhm.
There is, and I think there's another scene that we'll talk about later that reminds me that the people writing the show are a bit more in tune than other people have given them credit for, or even myself at some points. So I did appreciate that, but I did feel kind of like, oh, there wasn't really anything big to look forward to on a The Boys scale.
Right.
Everything was kind of just like set up right away. Like, oh yeah, like Newman's gonna become the president, or is she?
Mhm.
That you were kind of like, a pretty straight shot from there to there.
Yeah, the this season, don't get me wrong, I still think it's a strong season.
Mm-hmm.
However, there was a lot more filler here. There's a lot more plot armor with a lot of the characters like Huey and all that kind of stuff, like being able to survive all these weird things, and then all of a sudden Grace Mallory being like, "Oh, you can't survive that," but like Huey can, and all those types of things. I think this show, this season itself, was particularly good at setting up the final season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hot off the last episode that I watched last night too, the season finale. But in regards to what it's actually trying to accomplish this season itself, it didn't feel as put together as the previous three, in my opinion.
Fair, yeah. Yeah. Well, definitely not the previous two. I think it's pretty on par with season 1, I would say.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, because I would argue probably season three has been the strongest so far, but like,
Yeah,
in my opinion, anyways. But
I would agree with that. Yeah, season 3
it's
was the strongest.
yeah, but this is, I think one of the biggest things for me this time around was how much, how there's always that discussion of like, does life imitate art or does art imitate life? And I'm just like, yeah, It's just parallel at this point. It's really hard, especially with some of the final things and the statement they put out before the season finale that they aired last night about the assassination attempts on
Mhm.
presidents and all that kind of stuff and former presidents. And it is wild to be like, okay, yeah, they're very much like the even they even use the hashtag all lives matter in
Yeah.
the season finale. And they're just like, it's I don't to like what you said a previous episode about the boys. It's like I don't know how people are not aware of the fact that they're spoofing or just making fun of the right wing kind of side of things, and how silly that is. And I'm like, this is just the most blatant kind of mockery of that
Hmm.
so far. And as someone predominantly left, it's funny to me. But then I this is why I'm like, when I'm watching other people review this and their takes and knowing that they're more right wing and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, oh, I get why they're complaining a lot more because they feel made
Yeah,
fun of.
I think that's maybe it, that this season as a whole did feel way more um cartoonishly like I think one character that suffered maybe from that was Homelander. I
Hmm.
think especially near the end he became more like I think well, I guess to properly state this, I think there's one moment where they expose that he hasn't really thought this through. That's strong because it's been a thing that's
Yes.
been bubbling up pretty
Hmm.
much every season. Like there's always
Hmm.
some corporate person, someone who is truly a capitalist that's like, I don't think he thought about this, but
Hmm.
he's been able to intimidate them. But then he gets in a room of people who actually make decisions and he's like, yeah, so the plan is like, oh, we're gonna take over, and they're all like, that's stupid, you don't know what you're talking about. And
Hmm.
he's floundering, and it's great because it's paired with Sister Sage, who just had her brains blown out, so she's not smart enough to
Hmm.
talk about what the actual plan is. And so he's just there like and you're like, oh right, like this is that criticism that I said that TikToker said beforehand. Like
Hmm.
maybe this is the only time they've dealt with that of like there is a group of people that are making decisions and know what they're doing. But I think that doesn't it doesn't really matter who those people are because that's just how capitalism works. They just won capitalism. They're at the top. So they are
Right.
the ones that are like, and we're going to keep this going. What you're
Hmm.
doing will break that up. So no, we don't like your idea.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. And but outside of that, there's just moments where I'm just like, I don't know, like he just seems dumb now, which I don't think was ever the case before. I didn't think Homelander was dumb. He just
Hmm.
had that flaw of needing validation. But that doesn't
Yes.
make him dumb. Whereas in this season, I felt like there was too many times where I'm like, oh, you're just dumb. And I don't think him having his idea shot down by the capitalists
Uh-huh.
was proof that he's dumb. I thought that was just very realistic of like, yeah, you have now reached the top. So like if you were in that pyramid scheme of like, oh, you just grind hard and you do this and then you'll be a billionaire too. And then you get up there and the gatekeepers are like, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
Like
You're not.
we're
They're
not
not
no.
like us.
Everyone can't win and we certainly don't want to do what you want to do. I
Hmm.
thought that was just well observed and done right. But then like yeah, I don't know. There's just some like the stuff with him and Ryan where I'm just like, I don't know, you just seem a bit too out of character here.
Hmm.
Like when he's like, I'm your father. I'm like, I feel like you dealt with this in season 3 already. I don't this feels weird.
Hmm.
This divergence of like, why are you still talking to I'm like the Homelander I thought we were going at would be like, sure, go ahead, hang out with him, but you're never gonna get what you need out of it. That
Hmm.
I'm the real power here. He's just a stupid human.
Hmm. Hmm. I think a lot of yes, like I never thought Homelander was dumb per se. I just thought he was always put in a position where he was underqualified for leadership, right? That's why
Mm-hmm.
he needed people around him. That's why like Edgar
Stan Edgar,
Carlitos
yeah.
Stan Edgar's character when he was like put to jail is like, oh, you think this is this, like now you're in charge. There's no one here to clean up for you. There's no one, and I'm like, yeah, that's on full display this season.
Mm-hmm.
And it I think the one part where I'm like, okay, Homelander's not entirely stupid is when he gets Sister Sage and he's like, hey, this is what I want to do and all that kind of stuff, and this is what I'm gonna try to accomplish. And it listens to her for the most part up until a certain threshold, right? Until he starts to feel stupid again and he feels out of like he's not in control and all those types of things. So I was like, okay, he's not entirely stupid. He knows he's not qualified for this. He needs advisory and all this kind of stuff. But the fact that he would be like go back on his own decision to be like, okay, yeah, you're fired because now this is happening. This is not what I wanted. All this kind of stuff. And then Sister Sage being like, okay, cool. And then Ree shows up at the finale being like, this was all part of the plan. Some things didn't go ahead of the schedule, like what, but this is always the result and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, that's a little bit too convenient from a writing standpoint. I didn't like that when Sister Sage just showed up and was like, "Oh, this was always part of the plan." But to your point, yeah, I don't think Homelander was.
I think
dumb.
that's strong writing. Actually, that's
You
showing.
do?
Yeah, I think that's showing
Mhm.
that white man was never going to. That's the point of setting up. I made the
Right.
cure to this very rare cancer,
Mhm.
and the white men laughed me out of the room. Her
Right.
whole point was, I'm gonna do this, and you're gonna laugh me out of the room. You're gonna get rid of me. She specifically says, you knew everything you needed to know except for the stuff that you would fuck up.
Mhm.
Meaning that's good writing. Meaning like we're not gonna be privy to the stuff he doesn't know, other than you can probably guess what she's trying to do
Mhm.
from the first time she states, you're gonna cause a problem, and then you come in and save the day. Clearly, she's setting up a situation where she comes in and saves the day, meaning she's gonna get Homelander to be a mess. She is playing levels on him of you're thinking you're in charge right now, but the show already showed he's an idiot. So when he's doing the stuff,
Mhm.
he's going to make a mess that she can come in and clean up.
Right.
So I don't think that's bad writing at all.
Fair enough.
I think my only complaint is about how he is played in the season, because her whole thing is I will outthink everybody here. She is what people think Batman is. Of like I don't have superpowers. I just can think my way out of anything, or I can learn and then think my way out of things. Which is she clearly has had time to like research and observe how this all works, and she's gonna come in and blow things up, and she will constantly do it on the right. She said, "I don't want to be in a suit," so she got herself kicked out. Now she doesn't have a suit. She's not in the public eye. She can do whatever she wants. But I do think that was definitely a criticism I thought was people not paying attention to the show. That well, she just came in and I'm like, no, it's everything that we said we like the Zemo thing, that being able to play your opponent against himself, and that's exactly what she's doing here. Because there's no way Homelander isn't her opponent.
That's true. That's true. I mean, yeah, very, very good point. I thought, yeah, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really, really good. I do like Sister Sage's inclusion into the series and all that kind of stuff. I think it's such a wonderful character. Some great, great stuff there. Like the whole idea of like, oh, she gets like basically the equivalent of getting high, smoking weed or whatever with a lobotomy.
Yeah, her brain grows too fast,
wonderful.
so she has to like kill it basically so it could regenerate, but never enough to blow her head up. I'm assuming is the idea here.
That's what I assume too. Is like, give me a little bit of just a little bit of brain damage, and like I'll recover, and I'll like have like a few hours where I'm like that's such a cool little thing.
With the funny thing of like she has sex with the Deep when she's in that state, but she's able to have sex with the replacement Black Noir without doing that. Just to like really show the Deep, like, no, you really are the bottom of the barrel here.
You're so dumb. Oh my god, the Deep this season is just hilarious. The entire time.
I found him menacing. Like when he kills Tilda Swinton Octopus, I was like, holy fuck, this is intense. Yeah. I am not happy about this at all. He gets a taste of Sister Sage and obviously decides he's too good for, I don't remember what the octopus's name is, or if even that is an octopus, but it's Tilda Swinton. And she says all the right things. She's like, yeah, like I get it. You're with her. I can smell her when you come home. But she genuinely does not think of you as an equal. I love you, so you should be with me. And he gets upset and kills her. And it's very upsetting and not funny at all. I'm just like, oh no.
I'm very happy that they didn't show the octopus dying for some reason. Like with all the human deaths and all that kind of stuff, I think that's desensitized. But if I had to like watch the octopus actually like struggle to breathe and all that kind of stuff, they put the camera on it, I think that would have been one of the more disturbing things to me, as odd as
Well,
that
I
is
mean,
to
it
say.
probably wouldn't look like much because it's just like an octopus that can't
Sure,
emote. But so the voice is pretty bad.
the voice is very bad. Even that's it in itself is just like, oh man, I'm so uncomfortable with this right now. But yeah, it's just the idea of like even in his own place, he puts her in the closet, and it's such a small
Yeah, like
tank
she's
compared
like,
to everything.
"Hey, like you said you were changing my tank. You
Yeah.
forgot to clean it. You said I was going into a different tank. Like what's the deal here?" And
Mhm.
again, the like upsetting thing of her being like, "You haven't hidden the cheating from me. I'm aware of that, and I'm still trying to engage in this relationship with you."
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah, upsetting stuff. A Trade seems to be taking a turn. I guess he's not in the finale,
He's
but
not in the finale whatsoever,
I
which
mean, I'm
is it
kind
makes
of like
sense.
not for the actor's sake, but for the character's sake. I'm like, I mean, I hope he just got out. But like, that's
Right.
kind of his arc is realizing, yeah, I'm not gonna make good choices, and I'm not going to win at capitalism by like sticking with Vought and the Seven.
Mhm.
And he tries to get Ashley out, and I do think that he is making selfish decisions throughout, like when he tries to
Yes.
implicate Ashley and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I do respect that there is a part of him that's like, I do want to have an impact on these young black people in my life.
Mhm.
Like, obviously, it's capped off by the black kid respecting him when he saves MM.
Yep.
But the fact that he's like sneaking around with his nephews,
Mhm.
not to like, yes, he's telling stories because they're asking about it, so he's placating, but it does feel like he just wants to spend time with them
Yes.
and be there and be present and not a superhero or the celebrity. Like
Yeah.
it feels like that's what's happening. Um, so I respect that.
Yeah.
That time with them is to connect as family, not for them to feed his ego.
Yeah, I genuinely appreciate what A Train's going for, going through his character arc in this season, just because he's gaining empathy, obviously, right? He's getting all this kind of stuff. He's obviously still very flawed to your point of like, okay, yeah, he's gonna still tell stories that make him look as good as possible to his
Mm-hmm.
nephews, but at the end of the day, he still knows what's important. It's like, okay, got to get my brother out, got to get my nephews out, and all that kind of stuff. Where we're gonna go, and he has the ability, and I like that MM approaches him to be like, we can flip A Train and
Mm-hmm.
all this kind of stuff. Like, great writing there. I really enjoy that, and the fact that the whole season MM is actually the leader of the boys, not the Butcher anymore. I'm like, great, this is awesome. This is like a competently led crew and all this kind of stuff now. They're making good decisions. They're going on all this kind of stuff. It makes a lot more sense. It's just that Butcher still being the Butcher. Yikes! His stuff is.
He
Mm.
he is a hindrance to them, there's no doubt. But also,
Mhm.
like from the first episode, you can see like it doesn't matter who's leading them; they're doing a
Mhm.
stupid thing. Like
Yeah.
again, the whole like they're trying to engage on the terms of, and I keep using the term capitalism because I do think that's what this show
Yes.
is dealing with. They're trying to still engage in those rules. The point of MM being the leader, I don't think is better because he is the guy that's like, yeah, well, we got to follow the rules. Like we're going to listen to the government when they tell us to do it. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, you're playing by the rules, which is a not across the board, but a black thing of like, well, you like these are the rules. We got to stick to the rules and don't go outside of that. Like we can't play dirty or whatever, and that always leads to the frustrations that we've seen
Yeah.
MM have of like,
Mhm.
why does he get to do what he wants to do? Because it is, and I'm not saying this is unique to just black people, but there are, as my lived experience, like there is that thing of like, no, you got to stick to the rules. Like those are
Mhm.
you got to play by the rules. So I do think that yeah, in this show, like the boys feel like the American Democrats versus the Republicans of like
Yeah, very much
uh,
so.
where, and I don't think that Democrats are left or the liberals here in Canada are left. I do
No,
think
they're
it's
not.
all part of the right. You just right, light, and heavy right.
Yeah,
So like,
center,
that's why I
left,
don't
or
think the boys
whatever.
is making fun of everybody. I feel like it is like no, it is making fun of the right. It's just people think they're further left than they really are.
Correct.
And
Mhm.
so yeah, like they're doing these things, and you're like on paper, you're like, oh yeah, that's great, and then it's like it doesn't matter because you're playing with people who are trying to win, not try to do the right thing.
Right.
And so yeah, like I really like Victoria Newman in that first episode where they like Stewie throws acid on her and she's like, that's annoying, and then she gets shot and she's like, wow, you guys are really bad at this, like you're not going to beat me.
Yeah.
But this season really gets into the fact that she's like, no, I genuinely like Huey. No, and I don't mean that in a romantic way. Like clearly they did have a bond that we saw early in season 3 and is important to this season as well. That she, at the last minute when she's like, oh fuck, yeah, Homelander's gonna use me as a puppet. Everyone's aiming at me. I need to talk to I need to talk to Huey. Like that's how I'll calm down. That's where I'll find my peace.
I love Victoria Newman in this whole season. I think she was one of the strongest characters out there. And just like the realization of like, hey, things are getting out of control now, and then I can't do this, and I have stakes in the game. I have
I don't want my daughter to
lose. Yeah, and even my lover and all that kind of stuff. It's just all these kind of things are just like she can't. Like I like what she says in the finale. She's like, I did this to feel safe. I feel less safe than ever. And and to your point, the whole capitalism thing is like in previous episodes, you're like, you can't out capitalism. She even has a quote in that season finale where it's like, the only way to win is to not play, or whatever. Some version of that. I'm pretty sure I'm getting the paraphrasing wrong, but like the idea of like, yeah, you pull out of it entirely, right? But her being like vice president elect, it's not easy to the wheels are already in motion. It's going to be sworn in pretty soon and all that kind of stuff. So she's in a dizzy of a situation and knowing exactly what Homelander is going to do. And it's kind of like Starlight's power in season 3, where it's like, oh, you on the paper have this, but then Homelander's just going to bully you into doing whatever it is that he wants and all that kind of stuff, and make your life a living hell and threaten you and all this, because Homelander is who he is. He's just the biggest bully in the world. And bully's not the right word, obviously, but
I mean, I think if he has any power, that is the power that he can bully people.
True.
And yes, I understand the physical power he has, but we've already gone over this ad nauseum. He's still a prison to, I need people to respect me. So like, it comes out more in bullying than just straight up, I'll just kill you. It will be more bullying than anything else.
Yeah. Because the straight kill is he needs the torture, he needs the torment to actually feed his ego, not the fact that, oh, you're dead kind of deal.
Well, so here's what I think. You're probably right. You're probably right. That's what he wants. But I definitely think, well, I think this season, yes, we saw him wanting to torture people, but that's because those people legitimately tortured him.
Yes.
I think his thing is, and it's, people have talked about this, maybe I'm getting it wrong, but like, I'll just do half of it, which is the Superman thing, which is he's fighting to change your mind. So there's long drawn out like punch slugfest. He's not fighting to effectively stop you like other heroes might. He's fighting because he's hoping like this is the punch that'll get them to listen to me, or and I think that's more of the Homelander thing of like, I'm gonna keep bullying until you finally respect me. And I don't think I can't base it off of this season. This season he felt different to me, and it might just be they are going for, yeah, he's just gonna torture people. But it did feel like that sentiment, obviously in the other direction of like, I'm just gonna keep prodding and prodding and prodding until I get the result I want. And I think that's the same for Starlight, because I've seen people be like, why do they keep nerfing her? And I don't think she's a nerf. I mean, this season she doesn't have her powers, but that's different than nerfing her. That was a psychological thing that I thought paid off pretty nicely in this. This, I think before people were upset because she'd always light her eyes up and people were like, stop that. But I think that's because those characters are recognizing that Superman thing of like, you're not going to use that to kill me. You're going to use that to intimidate me or to beat me into submission of thinking like you, and we already know you're not about that life. Like, it's not that's not going to be effective. Put that away. If you were Homelander, maybe we would be scared, or if you were Black Noir, maybe we'd be scared. But you're not. You're the good guy. So
you're
put away those tactics. I think and I think that's interesting. I think that's a good way of doing it. But since Homelander isn't the good guy, people are going to be more afraid when his eyes light up, because like, oh, he will keep doing that to me.
Yeah.
But both of them are trying to get to a point where you're still alive, but you just think differently about what's going on.
Yeah, it's we go back to I go back to season one for thinking about this, where Homelander's like, I will laser each and every one of you on the flight and all that kind of stuff. People legitimately back away, because they know that he actually will. The Starlight comparison of like her lighting up her eyes, it's always like a pufferfish kind of like doing the pufferfish thing of like, I'm not actually going to follow through with this and all that kind of stuff. It is good to cut, like, in whether or not she's nerfed this season in terms of her superpowers, that's not the point. The point of her this entire season, which I really, really do enjoy, is that she's actually confronting herself, like the other characters in the whole season are, except for Homelander, except for Butcher. They're not confronting themselves. They're just going deeper. Like Homelander and Butcher, they're going deeper into themselves. They're just becoming a more amplified, more cartoonish version of themselves, versus literally everyone else has to confront that version of themselves to be like, okay, what is it here that's holding me back? And Starlight's journey through that is probably the best written throughout the whole season. That she's like trying to do it
such
right.
A great payoff in
exactly
her being the person that gets her body snatched in a sense of like, so visually you're watching her fight herself, like,
yes,
which is what she's been doing internally for the other 7/8 of the series of the season. You're watching her internally battle, like, so like obviously she has this idea of, wow, we're gonna do this the right way, and then Homelander perverts it by making it seem like three of her or people from her side killed three people. So that puts doubt in her until A-Train helps her out with that. But then it's like, oh, now was her name Firecracker or like the
I think so, Firecracker. Yeah,
she puts out there like, oh, she had an abortion, so it's just like she doesn't really care about people. I think that's why I felt like this was pretty cartoonish, because they really went heavy into the Pizzagate stuff, and I was like, oh, all right.
The Pizzagate stuff was,
those people exist, so it's not like I'm like, why did they do that? It just felt like this is the least stealthy they've done this. I dated one of those people. That believed in Pizzagate. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That's what I'm saying. People like that exist. It's a thing. So yeah, then she's like, oh, like, am I a bad person because and I know she lost her powers before this, but you're watching throughout this season like all these things that are very real, and then when she confronts Firecracker, thinking like Firecracker's going to be like, oh, you just represent stuff I don't like. It's like, no, a very real thing you did ruined my life, and not just made me feel bad, but literally changed the course of how I can be in the world, because you made it seem like I was having sex for like entry into these spaces. And when and this is Firecracker speaking, like, and then when I confronted you, you doubled down and called me a fat slut. Like, it's like, you aren't that nice. Like, you're not a nice person. You weren't anyway. So I think she has changed, obviously, but I like that the idea there is that she'd be like, well, there's people in the world that don't like me for reasons I brought upon myself, not because they just disagree with how I think. Like, I actively ruined people's lives.
Yeah, it's such a great thing, like seeing Firecracker's story through that, and how it was just all these things. And even when you see Annie or Starlight try to back out of that discussion, be like, but I was young, I was this. I'm like, no, stop making excuses. That's the point right now, is that you still did those things and you're still presenting yourself as this wholesome person, but secretly you're not really actually wholesome. But the thing is, and this is one thing I learned through therapy, Annie up until this point is a nice person, because that niceness comes with strings attached. Like, I want to do this. I like it. It's a transactional kind of thing. She's not a kind person up until now, right? Kindness is the idea of like knowing yourself and all that kind of stuff. Those are technicalities, and yeah, we can call it semantics. But the idea of Annie believing in her own bullshit, basically, the entire season, and her getting called on it by all these people to be like, oh, yeah, she's not the person that she thinks she is. It's a very, very powerful thing because a lot of people that present themselves that way, they're like, yeah, you're not aware of how you make other people feel, not by signal virtuing or anything like that, but by just the actions that you've had, the things that you brushed off as it's not a big deal, have big, big, big impacts on other people's lives, right? Um,
Well, I think
yeah.
what the show, and obviously you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what the show is going for is that uh, the events of this show from when we saw it, like basically, and I'm not saying Huey made her a better person, but like from the time she meets Huey and he gives her that pep talk that forces her to like be better.
Mhm.
She was doing that, but it was like that can only take you so far because she
Yes.
didn't actually go back and interrogate her younger self and the person that would do those types of things. So
Mhm.
I don't know if that was with strings attached so much as it was like you haven't completed the work.
Mhm.
You gotta keep digging down there, which you said the characters are doing here
Yes.
was fully doing. And I do like that there was that obviously that added because you can already see the discourse already that people are mad at her for being mad at Huey. I don't know
Mhm.
why I keep wanting to call him Stewie this episode. That she was mad at Huey after he had sex with the doppelganger, and
After he was sexually
but
assaulted by the
sorry, I
doppelganger.
should say that
Yeah.
3 episodes in a row where he's raped.
Yeah.
Um, um, so the I think
And also by Tech Knight too.
no, that's what I'm saying. There's the Tech
Yeah.
Knight. There's
Yeah.
the Tech Knight
Oh,
rape.
okay.
There's
Yeah.
the Ashley rape.
Yep.
There's the doppelganger rapes that
Yeah.
happened 2 episodes in a row after the
Mhm.
Tech Knight stuff. So 3 episodes in a row where he's raped.
Mhm.
I think people have a hard time realizing like you can feel bad for Huey and also understand that I don't think it was the sex that bothered Annie to that point. It was you couldn't tell it wasn't me, which they then address right away.
Yes.
But like that is her concern, and I feel
Yeah.
like that's a valid one. Of like, and not just you couldn't tell it was me, but that you were so happy to believe that was me because it's what you actually want, which is no
Mhm.
friction and just down to fuck.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
feel like yeah, like that is because she doesn't like it's resolved within the episode, which is why I thought it was well handled. Is that
Yes.
like he says what he needs to say, she takes her time to. I don't even know if she needed to let that sink in, but she did need some time apart, which I feel like is
Yes.
perfectly fine. And then she comes back and she's like, "This is how we're moving forward."
Yep.
But like that wasn't like a "How dare you? I'm never going to talk to you." It was just like I'm upset right now because I already feel bad about myself,
Mhm.
and this happened with the person that I'm closest to right now.
Yeah, she was being I was not a fan of her reaction. I'm very, very critical of it. I'm not a fan of it and all that kind of stuff because it's still very much Annie being like, woe is me, how dare, like these morals and ethics that I present to the world but secretly behind doors, like the abortion thing and all that kind of stuff. Like I'll still go to the church thing and still be like, yeah, abortion's wrong and all that, but still have my own and then justify it my own way. She's still very much playing the victim in that now, but the biggest thing is she just confronted herself. She just did those things, and she's supposed to be perfect and consistent after that. Absolutely not. And that's the whole point of healing, is that you're not supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to be able to confront those parts of yourself better and do those things. The fact that she was mad and emotional about it, I can very, very much understand that, very much so. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, Huey's been raped, like sexually assaulted 3 episodes in a row, and that has not been addressed by Annie whatsoever. And like
Well, it
later on, we
hasn't
find
been
out,
addressed by the show. I think that's the problem.
yeah,
Is we
sure,
know too much. Is that the head writer said he thought that was hilarious, the Tech Knight and Ashley stuff.
yeah.
So I don't
Mm-mm.
think that's. I understand these characters are written, but that's what I'm
Mhm.
saying is that it's the writer's fault, not the character's fault.
It's true. It's
I
true.
think, and I don't, and I also would push back against. She says abortion is wrong. I think her whole arc has been that is what I grew up in. I don't believe in that anymore. I just want to hang on to the faith aspect of it. But she is actively pushed against that in
Mhm.
episodes. Like when she
Right.
goes to that faith Comic-Con type thing, she says, "No, it's okay to have sex before. Like this is all this stuff makes you human. It doesn't make you bad." So I
Right.
don't think that is a fair assessment of what was going on there.
Right.
I think that, as I said, the events of the show has made her a better person, but
Mhm.
better doesn't mean the best possible person she could be. It just means she is better and has moved on from those things that are bad. She just needs to do a little bit more digging to properly unpack all of that stuff.
I mean, you're absolutely correct about that. She's gotten progressively better throughout the series and all that, and I did like this season specifically for Starlight's growth and character arc and all that kind of stuff. Do I care that she used her superpowers or not, or her superpowers not a part of this whole season? No, because at the end of the day, it's just like, well, realistically, Homelander is just going to be able to kill everyone,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
as shown, right? So it's not like there was ever going to be a situation where it's like Homelander versus Starlight, and we believe that fight would work. It's the idea of, okay, what is causing this right now? What's causing her, preventing her from being able to do the thing, and to grow? And then after she confronts herself, and it's like, okay, yeah, I do have to own up to my own bullshit, and I have to own up to it for my own reasons and all that kind of stuff. And after that, she fundamentally gets stronger, and I think that part is really, really good because
Mhm.
I think that going through a healing journey on an individual basis, it makes you stronger, knowing, yeah, this is a part of me, this is the mistake I've made in the past, and
And you
this is
can
how I'm
drop
going
the
to go
whole "I'm a
forward.
superhero, I do the right thing," which is what she
100%.
says when she's choking out the doppelganger. Which is, I
Yes.
don't know if I'm a superhero. I just know I'm beating you right now, which is
Yep.
poetically getting rid of some demons inside of her. Obviously, that was a separate entity and not actually a part of
Mhm.
her, but visually, storytelling wise, that is what's happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do like that shapeshifter was like corrected her in that moment to be like, you're Annie going like, you're a psychopath. No, sociopath. I'm
Yeah.
like, nice,
Well, I've
nice.
had
She's
that happen in
self-aware
real life
enough.
too. No, it's
Yeah.
not nice. That's actually a very scary thing when people do stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, just in that moment, it obviously not nice, but it's just like, yeah, in that moment, yeah, I've had that happen too with sociopaths.
Yeah, you're
Um,
like, no, man, like this. You should just be offended at all, not offended that I misdiagnosed this aspect.
mislabeled it.
Like
Yeah,
you should just be like, I should. This is a real person I'm talking to right now. I shouldn't have people accusing me of this. I get
yeah,
that
but
that doesn't work in this scenario, but what I'm saying is, yeah, like, yeah, it's really. I was triggered by that. I was like, oh shit, I know that look and
Mhm.
that tone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was a very triggering thing for me too. Just because I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter that we got the label wrong, but at the end of the day, asking sociopaths and psychopaths to have empathy about that is just like, yeah, you're just gonna do a performative version of it anyway. So just, yeah, just do your true colors. It's like I'd rather have my racists wearing hoods instead of like pretending to be good, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just like, that was it was tongue in cheek
Mhm.
laughter to me, but obviously triggering at the same time.
Yeah, no, I think that is some of the strongest stuff, specifically for the actor as well, Aaron
Mhm.
Moriarty, being able to play the doppelganger as well.
Yes.
Like it's just it felt like she opened up a new set of skills to do that. So
Yeah.
it was
A lot
exciting
more
to watch
range.
that. Um, and again, I'm not saying she's bad at playing Starlight. I'm saying
Mhm.
like, oh, that's great because she's so good at Starlight. But I also truly believed her as this doppelganger version as well.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, I think one of the Stranger Things, I wanted to get your thoughts on the whole Huey aspect in this whole thing, the dad and the mom coming back and all that kind of stuff. And to me, I'm like, that part was probably one of the weirder interactions of the whole thing.
So I think this is just my personal
Mhm.
thing. It's kind of why I had a rough time with the beginning seasons of Breaking Bad as well.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm acknowledging this is a personal thing, not that it's bad writing when this
Mhm.
happens, because obviously this happens in real life. But I'm a big believer in if uh, someone is like, I'm done living, like it's not. I don't think it's responsible or fair to like pressure them and to keep living because it feels like you're just doing that for yourself. And
Mhm.
in some cases, yeah, that's very real. Like, oh, if you're gone, I'm gonna lose a bunch of stuff. So if it's like a kid, and I mean like not an adult to
Mhm.
a parent, I
Mhm.
understand that. That's not what I mean. I mean when it's like people who are like equal or should be kind of independent and moving on, forcing someone to stick around when they don't want to. And I'm talking about dying. I'm not trying to make euphemisms here. I want to be clear here.
Right.
Dying. I feel like you should just make it as comfortable for them as possible at that point. And obviously the show is dealing with that when the dad explains why Huey didn't have power of attorney.
Right.
So, and I like that characters like Kimiko are like, you're just supposed to let him die. Like, I appreciated that. But obviously the show didn't let that happen. And again, it's not a fault of the show. The mom thought like, hey, he must really want to do it. Even though she played it like she was trying to fuck everyone over, I can only believe that the show had it at no, she was trying to do the right thing. She wanted to help her son. But just the idea that Huey couldn't get past that, and again, I'm not saying this is a fault of the show. I'm just saying, personally, it was hard for me to get on board with his desire to do that, even though I understand how real that is for people. I was kind of just like, I need him to be a bit more understanding of this. And I do know that he ultimately makes the right choice, and then that choice is taken away from him. But it's in a season where a bunch of choices are taken away from him. So it's like, I don't know about this. I don't know about all that. And then, and then from that point on, it's just very upsetting what happens to the dad, and that is your final stuff with your dad.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of like, oh, like, what is this serving in a season where he's being raped? And again, not just once. He is being raped a bunch in this season. He's clearly not all right. It would have been enough if they were hanging on the idea that he ignored the call when his dad called him before having the stroke. Like, there's enough there for him to deal with without adding that aspect to it.
Yeah, it's tough to watch because it's it's so awkward, the whole thing, the idea of like, okay, he hates his mom so much, he's so vocal about it for his own reasons, but at the same time still attached to the whole Billy Joel thing. Like, the whole Billy Joel thing, finding out that it's like, oh, it's your mom that is the reason why you love Billy Joel so much, and that's a part of your identity, but you won't acknowledge, like, it, and he was being so defensive and resistive towards the whole thing. And of course, there's a lot for him to grasp with the idea that he's not POA, that his dad had the stroke, and that he ignored the call, all that kind of. There's so much, like you said, but it's just the mom there as a character alone. I was more convinced that the mom was a part of some deeper plot point in there, but it just seemed like the show was just like, no, we just wanted the mom there to serve this kind of thing, and she's not actually a Vought deep agent or something like that trying to.
I think it was trying to show like you have your idea of how things went, and other people have very clear ideas of how things go, and those will butt up against each other. So obviously Starlight has to be like, all right, I was a bitch, right? Okay, so that, and he has to be like, all right, I didn't see my mom as you, and that's not a kid's responsibility. But
it's not.
Obviously, he's an adult now, so it's time for him to confront that and be like, and I'm not saying this is the kid's responsibility to reach out to the parent that abandoned them when they were 6. Right. I'm just saying that this show was trying to work through. I don't think it was successful, but I think that's what they were trying to work through, which is he has the opportunity now to create a relationship with his mom. What is he going to do? She's finally in a space where she wants that to happen. And so what is he going to do? I just think that, it was a bit muddled from and I would say on the performance, that, and maybe next season we will see that she is some kind of spy or something, but the way she looked when she saw the V, I was just like, oh, like, who is this person? Is this even his mom? Because they don't even show her face in her first scene. Like, it's all like this secret stuff, and I'm just like, I don't really get why they're playing it this way.
Yeah, that's to me what the issue was that, like, the writing around it was good, but to me how the show made, and this is my issue, and I acknowledge that the show made me believe like, oh, she's gonna be a part of something bigger within the whole plot line, but she's really not. that was just, it was weirdly handled. It's kind of like how when we go back to when we talk about WandaVision, it's like, yeah, why are you giving us purpose, like misleading things and all that kind of stuff? Just write a good show kind of deal, right? That was my complaint about it, and that's why I'm like, there's a little bit of a fall off. I see what they're trying to do, and to many points I do agree that and this is true for me, like very very recently, like having starting to recognize that at a certain point in your adult life, you have to have a different relationship with your parents,
Yeah.
and you have to start understanding them a little bit better. Like for me to approach my mom and be like, hey, tell me about your childhood, tell me about China, tell me about this and all that kind of stuff, allowed me to be like, oh shit, why was I expecting the world of you when you had less of the tools that I had to be able to deal with those emotions? And why am I expecting you to be perfect when you couldn't possibly with your traumas and your cultural thing and all that kind of stuff? So I think the show does a very, very good job of highlighting that, of being like, at some point you have to see your parents differently. And I think it does very, very well. What I don't like about it is like, why did you keep making us think that she's like, or at least to me, like some part of a deeper conspiracy or something like that. The fact that she's like, oh, I'm a part of the Vought MLM group or something like that with the rosemary oils and all that. That was just like comedic and awkward. But like I genuinely thought, okay, yeah, there's ties to Vought. I think she's gonna do this. She's maybe the shifter or whatever, and trying to, but that was just slightly awkward. But very, very real. And there's a lot of good things done there too.
Yeah, there's some. I think I just think the performance, and I like that actress. I think her name's Rosemary DeWitt. But I was just like, it's not like this show does a bunch of big cameos. So I'm like, why are you hiding her face like she's? I think this has nothing to do with quality of acting. I think she's a great actor. I like seeing her in things, but they were acting like they had like Meryl Streep there to play
or Kate
the
Winslet.
mother. Yeah. Like, and it's like, I mean, you could have just shown her face. Like it's not that big of a reveal.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, that I think we both were suffering from the same thing of like, you're making it seem like something's happening here when really it's a lot more straightforward. It's important stuff, maybe not to the overall story, but it is important if we're trying to dig into these characters. It is important stuff, but it didn't feel executed well.
I agree.
What did I want? Oh, I guess we should talk about the Kimiko and Frenchie stuff. I don't really care about the Frenchie stuff. I've been I've been out on him. Like the whole like, I'm dating the guy whose parents I killed. I'm like, that's fucked. You're fucked.
That's fucked up, man.
And then like, he's like, I'm going to jail. I'm like, good, keep him in there. I don't need him to come out. I don't even remember how he got out. They pardoned him or something. I don't remember.
They pardoned him. Like the CIA's like, oh, we got him out and all that kind of stuff. And he's just like, oh, if it was up to me, I'd still be in there. I'm like, yeah, I agree with that.
And then I was happy when Kimiko was like, we're not going to get together because we're more important to each other. And then they went back on that. And I was like, oh. I think they needed that because I do think it is not effective. It was affecting when her first words, like, continuous, like she got that out, was to try and hold on to Frenchie and he's gone. That is affecting. I thought that was well played, but I was kind of just like, that still could have happened if they were just family. There's the whole like, oh, I'm so happy that I kissed him and he kissed me back. I was like, it's Frenchie though, so he's gonna really drag you down. And I'm just talking about the character. I'm not even talking about the actor. Just talking about the character. Like, no.
I think the actor does a great job, because if I care this much, I'm like, the actor's doing a great job, right? But you're just, oh god, his codependency, his bullshit. I'm so over it. I'm like, if there was one character on The Boys that would have died this season, I would have been happy that the character of Frenchie would have died. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm over his bullshit. Get him out of here. It's just not great.
I was happy when he was carted off, and then I was like, ugh, no, they're bringing him back, obviously.
Yeah, because it's fucked up that he was like, oh, I'm gonna just keep having, like, just try to be with Colin. And like, I'm glad he finally got there and told the truth. But the first time he was like, oh, you're gonna say nothing right now. you're fucked, dude. Like
Yeah.
what the hell? This is
No,
messed up.
I did not appreciate that at all.
No. I am
Um,
very glad though that Colin didn't come back and
oh
he
yeah,
kept his distance from Colin. I'm like, if there
there's
was a
no, you
thing
can't.
toward the end of the season that they try to reconcile and like they're together again, I would have been pissed. He's
Well,
absolutely pissed.
yeah, I
Not
mean,
good.
the watching TV and movies for a long time, I was like, oh, they gave him a black partner. That black partner is going to be out of the picture soon enough.
Yeah.
One way or another, the black partner will be out of the way, so the people that are shipping get what they want. Like that's been a thing for
That's
quite some time. So I was
yeah.
never worried that Colin was coming back, but I do like that Colin was like, get the fuck out of here. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like I guess leave me alone. Like he was angry and he had some form of catharsis there of like, don't ever be around me again.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that was when he beat up Frenchie, I was like, good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm
No,
glad you're
that's
getting this.
no, that is what a violation.
Yeah.
What a
God
true
damn it.
violation.
Like to me, I'm like, that was so wild. The whole idea that they would even write that in and that Frenchie's character would go there and all that kind of stuff. Like when Frenchie goes like, hey, maybe some people are not to be forgiven. I'm like, I'm good. I'm glad that he's saying that because I don't think he should be forgiven. He's done some really fucking shitty things over the
Yeah.
course of this season, let alone the whole series. But I
Yep.
just, oh man.
I guess we can talk about the Huey rape stuff. So they're trying to infiltrate and get information on Sister Sage and what the plan truly is.
Right.
And so he goes as Web Weaver to this party. And I guess his big saving grace is that Web Weaver's suit stinks so much of him that Tech Knight can't sniff it out on him right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny, the guy that plays like the Alfred type character used to live around the corner from me. So I was like,
Oh, yeah?
I'm glad he's still around. Like, yeah, he was on the show that not the Archie show, but he was on a show called Riverdale, which was
Right, right.
a Toronto soap opera. And there was a lot of people that were just in and around my area that were on that show, and I was just like, hey, this guy's back.
Nice.
I think he's also the guy that gets kicked into the pit with the "This is Sparta" moment.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
wow.
He's in
Cool.
300. I think he's the guy that gets kicked in.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, the point is, he goes into Tech Knight's like torture dungeon, and I had a
BDSM.
feeling this was going to be the rape that the creator thought was funny,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, this makes sense if I know. As I said, we know too much about the production, so it tainted it. I couldn't go in good faith with this
Mhm.
thing, but I was just like, I'm not a fan of using rape like this, but
No.
it would have
Yeah.
been. I would have seen the vision because it's him throughout the whole thing being like, this is fine, I'm fine, and we know he's not fine, and then he has to break down later with Annie and says, I'm
Mhm.
not fine, I miss my dad. Like all of that I can see coming together to cave in on him and truly
Mhm.
make him break down. But knowing that it was supposed to be funny, I'm just like, but this is so like disgusting to look at, like, and having like Ashley wipe her like ejaculate on him and stuff. I'm just like, so disrespectful, and like, I don't know. I guess I sound prude, but I'm not a fan of that stuff. I don't think you needed this either,
Mhm.
because it goes on for so long, and the pacing, I think it is the pacing as well, because after the rape stuff, it's like, I'm gonna rape you again, but I'm gonna cut a hole in you first, and
Yep.
you're like, this is gonna happen right away. There's nothing stopping this guy, but they slow it down so much to like have comedy bits and like action, and I'm like, I can't focus on anything right now. This is all Oberker's on thing is get
Mhm.
Huey out of that situation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, this isn't the right time to slow things down.
Oof, that was one of the most uncomfortable episodes for me, and just like oh my God, it was just like I get what they were doing with Huey's self-destructiveness after the dad died
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff. I've done that myself for an extended period of time of self-destructive behavior and all that, but it's just the idea of why is rape funny to anyone. And in the idea of like, oh, it's because it's men. Like you can you can't
Exactly,
rape a man.
yeah.
It's all that. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, god damn it! Like it's just not good. It was too long on that. And it's oh god, it was gross. Like that was hard
The
to
only
watch.
funny thing that happened was once you knew Huey was safe, and they were like, "We're gonna start donating to a bunch of places." And the one that breaks Tech Knight is Black Lives Matter. Like he's kind of like, "Ah, it sucks. You gave it to needy people. Ah, it sucks. You get no, not black people. Fuck you. Do not give them any money." And that's what breaks him. I thought that was funny, and then that's what makes his Alfred type character be like, "I'm gonna kill you now." Like,
Yeah.
I sat through a lot of bullshit, but you're having like internment camps now. No,
Yep.
we're done here. I'm gonna kill
Yep.
you.
I was very, very happy with that. The fact that the Alfred type character got to kill him and all that kind of stuff. But it's oh god, that was rough. But it like that was funny. It's like how are we gonna torture Tech Knight? It's like, yeah, give his money away
Yeah, that is
to
funny.
people
No,
that is genuinely funny. It's like, no, Blacklight, no, I'm gonna tell you what you want. I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking hilarious. It's like,
yeah.
it's like wait, we can't. He's getting off on this. Give away his
No,
money.
like yeah, when they were beating him up,
Oof.
they were like, "He's getting off on this," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, okay, I'm glad
Mhm.
you recognize that. Let's pivot." And then that was a good pivot.
Yes, absolutely. That was a wonderful, wonderful pivot. But it's oh god, the whole ugh thing, and then Ashley being, I think it was funny that Ashley's sub broke up with her because it's like I
Oh
need
yeah,
a
he's like, "Well, you don't
dom that
actually have power.
actually
You don't actually
yeah.
have power anymore. Sister Sage took over for you." So I was surprised they killed that guy. They killed a lot of people this season, actually.
Oh god, yeah.
Before the last episode is a lot of death, including
Mhm.
unfortunately for me, Victoria Newman. But
Mhm.
like, and then just the real depressing thing of hearing her say, "I don't want to be that scared girl in Red River," and then you see her daughter has to go to Red River, and you're like, "That is, wow, what
That's
a gut punch."
rough. Yeah. That
She did die for nothing. Like,
yeah.
yikes.
She really, really did.
Um,
God damn it.
but
That's
yeah,
rough.
yeah, so many side characters just get taken out. Not
Mhm.
Ashley yet, but her assistant Ashley.
That whole Ashley bit where they just keep using their like each other's names.
Does anyone
Like,
know
yeah, I
her
know
last
Ashley.
name?
It was just so
It's like,
funny. It was
everyone's
just like,
fucking called Ashley here.
I know Ashley. Yes, Ashley. I know Ashley. That
Yeah.
was so funny the entire time. I'm like, why are you saying each other's names? It's like you love hearing your own name so much that you're willing to say your other name.
Yeah, yeah, Ashley, she took some V though, because she was like,
She
"Oh, they're
did.
gonna kill me." I think at first she was like, "Why is Homelander being so nice to me?" Like he says, like, "Oh, you're a good girl," which is demeaning. But I see how she sees that as like, "Wait a minute, something's
Yeah.
off here." And
Oh
then
yeah.
he's like,
Especially as a Dom, like to
"Yeah,
be like, oh wait, you hold up.
yeah."
Ugh.
But then she overhears just straight up the Deep being like, "Well, we got to kill Ashley, right? She's got the most information on us." So she takes V, so we don't know what happened to her.
The
But
fact that Homelander didn't even think about that is just legit the silliest thing, and it does prove how kind of
I don't know if he didn't think, but I think
bit.
he wanted to keep her around.
Right.
But then was like, when the Deep said it, he's like, "I'm gonna show
Yeah,
favorites
you're
right
right.
now."
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
he's just like, "Yeah, good idea."
Yeah.
It's also the Deep. Maybe he thought like, "You're not gonna get her anyway. Like,
Mhm.
you're not actually confident." So yeah, great idea. I don't know. I got the sense that this whole thing is he's always gonna hold on to Ashley because that she gives him exactly what he needs in terms of that
Mhm.
instant gratification of
Yes.
being able to have someone in quotation marks respect him.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. I like the part in the season where she's like, I'm gonna go to Disney. Like they've been trying to recruit me for a
Mhm.
while. I'm gonna go to Disney, and the idea of like, nope, she's trapped. She cannot leave even if she wanted to. She just shreds up the thing, and I'm like, yikes. Her character is
Right,
just
because
it's a
A-Train is
wildly
like, "This is our moment. We can go." She's like, I can't. I just
Yep.
can't get out of this."
Yep.
Like he can outrun. Like obviously, if she had taken some V and left, she probably would have done that in the
Right.
moment. But she probably came to that decision much later when it was like, "Oh, they're actively trying to kill me now." Got it.
I gotta
All
find
right,
a way
now
to
I'm out.
defend
Now I'm out.
myself. Yeah.
But yeah, I really thought the Black Noir thing was interesting. It's the
Mhm.
actor who's always been playing him, but now he gets to talk.
Yeah.
But he is
I
an
thought that was so
actor.
funny.
He
Yeah.
is an actor in the show as well, and I'm like, that actor has so many powers though, because he can fight like Blackmore, but he can also fly.
He can
And I'm
fly.
just like,
Yeah,
why did
he's
you
more
limit
powerful.
yourself to acting? Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
that's sad that you would be like, oh, I guess I'll just act, even though you could do so much.
Yeah, it's legitimately funny how he just like I need to understand the point of this
Yeah,
character
he's
and
like,
just
I'm
like
not getting
the
good
insecure.
direction here.
It's so funny the entire time, and the Deep is just like, shut up, shut up.
I just like every time like you're doing too much. You're doing too much.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like he's on stage and he does
He's
like what a normal actor would do. It's like yeah, look at me put on a show. It's like shut up, stop that. You're putting on too much. It's so funny the entire time, and the fact that he's narcoleptic and it was written into the show. It's like God damn, he's asleep again.
Right, yeah. The actor in real life is narcoleptic, so they put
Yeah.
him, and then he gets his murder boner.
He's like, yeah, I'm there now. I'm genuinely.
I don't know.
there.
I found it funny, but I also was like, what is happening here? Like, who is this?
Mhm.
I was just gonna. I wish this played into something better.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I had to go say like, yeah, the octopus death was way more unsettling to me than every other one because like this show has desensitized me so much to the human deaths where I'm like, oh, you're gonna hurt animals? No way.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah. Who else was in? Yeah. We forgot to say the stepdad died. I wasn't sad about that. Like,
oh yeah, first
in the
episode too. Love that.
Is it first or second?
It's first.
It's
episode.
first. It's first.
It's first
yeah.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I thought that scene was wild.
I just remember thinking like, how dare MM's ex-wife ask for this? But she knows how to play him,
she
so
was
it's like
she was asking for the daughter, and I'm like,
no,
okay,
I know,
get that.
but
yeah.
she's.
It's
I know.
I still very much on with you.
I
I'm
was
like, ugh.
come on,
Yeah.
come on.
But I just of those three guys that were like the biggest fans of Homelander, I thought the wildest thing was there was one guy that just like, this is Homelander, what Homelander wants. I'm just gonna step up, I'm gonna take it, and just walked right towards it and like took it. I'm like, holy crap. Like that's wild. That's a different
and it's
level.
obviously an exaggeration, but
Yes.
we're looking at pictures of people putting on the same ear bandages as Donald Trump right now.
Yeah, I know.
And you're like, yeah,
Mhm.
okay. And the thing I saw that I was like, it's true, is like, oh, so if he had masked, everyone would have followed him, and we would have been in a much better situation than we are now.
Mhm.
Like that's the kind of power he has, that he
Yep.
could have just masked, and we would have been in a better situation.
Yep. Yeah,
well,
because
the states, and that there was no help in Canada, but the
Right.
states, yeah, Trump just needed to mask.
he just needed to put on a mask for a few photo opportunities and all that kind of stuff. Because didn't Trump actually take the vaccine himself?
Oh, Trump did a complete 180 and was like, "No, this is the best thing that we've ever come up. This is
Right.
the best
Right,
American
right.
invention. The vaccine in general, because he
Mm.
was all anti before, but
Yep.
then he got COVID, got all the good stuff, and was like, "Oh yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone should be doing this." But it was too late by that point. People were just like, "Nah,
Yeah.
I'm anti-vax."
Yeah.
But he actively is like, "No, this is the best. You need to get vaccinated."
Yeah. And the wild thing to me is like how still some people are still all about that, making that their identity. Like I'm on some dating apps now and all that kind of stuff. And still very much to this day, people will be like unvaxxed only and all this kind of stuff. And you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want your, I'm like, oh my God, that's still a thing.
I
Jesus.
genuinely think people like that are. It's like, you already won. Shut up. Like, it's just,
Yeah, they're sore losers. That's
they're
really
not
what it
sore
is.
losers. They're sore winners. They did win.
Oh,
Like,
right, right,
everyone,
sore winners, right.
everyone gave up on that. No one has to get vaccinated for anything. It's
Yeah, we
like
gave up on social
everything. We just
distancing.
gave it.
Yeah.
We just gave up. It's
Mhm.
not like people aren't still dying. So it's like, you already won. Why are you being such an idiot about this?
Yeah, it's just so gross at that. It's so gross. But I do appreciate, like I said earlier, I'm like, I like my
It lets you
racists
know.
wearing
It
hoods.
lets you
It
know.
lets
Yeah.
me know, okay, immediate left swipe, immediate, like,
Yeah.
get out of here. Oh, that's
but
gross.
yeah, that's the Black Noir stuff, and
Mhm.
that's what's his face gets killed because he's so excited for Sister Stage to be like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, you're gonna come to this event and meet Homelander, and
Mhm.
Homelander's like, yeah, just kill them, which obviously we know is part of the plan to make Starlighters look like the aggressors, the Antifa people.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, that stuff is interesting, but yeah, as I said, I felt like, I think, I can't remember. There might be episodes I just flat out zone out on in this show that I don't
Mhm.
remember, and we've just done a big rewatch. Whereas the whole let's go to the farm and there's like V animals. I was like, I don't care about this. This is
That was
I
legitimately
do
one
not
of the
care
more
for this.
it was one of the more entertaining episodes of the season for me. I was
Yeah,
just
I
like, oh
found
my
it
god, we
very
got
boring.
flying sheep? What
I
the
was just like,
hell?
yeah, but I
was
was just like, what the
funny.
hell, and not like, oh, good, this is driving stuff forward. Like, yes,
No,
you
absolutely
learn
not.
who Victoria Newman's like baby daddy is, but I'm like,
Yeah.
to what end? And then
Yeah.
I guess this dovetails into the butcher of the whole season, where I was just like, I just don't care about him. So this whole Negan is really him thing, I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is what a boring choice to me. I found it boring that it was like, what is he going to screw his friends over again? I'm like, yes, probably. And then he
Yeah,
does.
100%.
It's like,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's what he's going to do. It would have been way more interesting if he just commit to being like, no, I want to do this to like make right with Ryan. And I understand that he does that for the majority of the season, but then when Ryan is like, hey, you guys are trying to trap me, I was like, well, now's the time for Butcher to stand up. And I'm not even saying it wouldn't have played out with Ryan going back to Homelander anyway, but he kind of just sits there, and I'm like, it seemed like you were in this for the right reasons, but I guess the show is telling me you weren't. But now I'm just like, oh, okay, so then it was a waste of time before. Like I genuinely thought, like, I was so happy when he said, hey, my whole thing is to make you safe. If you're sitting here knowing what you know and telling me you still want to be with Homelander, then I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah.
But then he didn't keep that energy. Like,
yeah,
I
they
was
go
like,
immediately back on that right away. And it's rough.
well, no, like, I knew that the Grace Mallory woman never agreed to that, so she was always going to be the aggressor.
That's
but it
true.
was just like, why didn't he say anything else after that? Like, he says that once, and I'm like, oh, sick, okay, interesting. And then it was like, oh, I guess you're just sitting out for the rest of this conversation. And I just was like, and then when he kills Victoria Newman, I was just like, sure. The whole like, no, we're not gonna make any deals with soups. I was like, you are one right now.
Yeah, you're
so,
a soup now.
That was the deal that they set up. I will turn you into a full blown soup if you just agree to do what I say. Like the Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I know I called him Negan, but like the Jeffrey Dean Morgan character was supposed to be a big surprise that it was all in his head. It was just like, okay, like. I mean, that's already a part of him, so I didn't really need this character I've never heard of before or seen before. Like it really undercut the Becca of it all. Like, she was there as well,
agree.
and I'm just like, so what are we doing two of these for? And one of them I don't even give a fuck about.
Yeah,
Like, even
I completely agree.
before I even clued in that he was like a figment of his imagination, I was like, I just don't like these scenes. I tune out with this guy on screen. This is boring. And then I'm like, oh, it's him. Oh, why'd they do that?
I like that actor because I think he does a lot with his charisma and his line delivery and all that kind of stuff. But like, I had that whole like reveal, like, oh, it's all in his head, spoiled for me early on by Wikipedia.
Okay.
That's my fault. That's my fault. But at the same time, I'm just like, yeah, they're not really doing this in a way that makes me actually fully believe that he's not a figment of his imagination too.
Yeah.
Especially when you put
they only talk to each other alone.
Yeah,
that's like a
they're
big
only
tell
alone
when you're like,
and
I'm not saying I saw it right away. I'm admitting that, but I'm just saying, like, enough of the scenes happen where I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he's not real.
Yeah, I think they waited too long to give that reveal, and that's where the downfall of like, oh, it should have been a bigger surprise if it was earlier on in the season, and they just kept doing it. Fine, whatever. But it's the idea of like, yeah, he's already hallucinating, he's already seeing people there, like Becca, like you said, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, oh, it's not really adding anything to the character. It's just like,
we already know he's like. We get it. I hate when people say that. I don't mean that to be dismissive of. I get it. I just mean it has been well established that he doesn't like superheroes for a very understandable reason, and that it just doesn't. I don't feel like enough happened to make me like, is this really a struggle for him? I feel like he's just gonna be like, okay, we'll do it this way then.
Yeah,
and then he did.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. And he's a straight up soup now, and he's got like technical powers and all that kind of stuff, which is similar to the sheep or the bunny or whatever it was that in the barn. But it's just like, sure, cool, whatever.
Yeah,
I guess the final season we're just gonna see a very, very big Homelander versus Butcher fight, along with Soldier Boy too.
Well, this is what I know about the comics, is that it does become more Butcher versus the boys in the
Right.
comics. Not the same circumstances at all. This is
Sure.
a different storyline completely.
Mhm.
I'm glad. I mean, unfortunately, there's enough space for them to do some of what they do in the comics, which I think is terrible. But
Mhm.
it does seem like they're still setting it up to be like, oh, we gotta, pivot to Butcher instead of the bad
Instead of
guys from
Homelander.
Vought.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm like, oh, all right.
Well, I mean, Butcher's essentially one of them now. So
No, I know. I just, I don't know. I don't like the character, so that doesn't make the show bad. That I don't like the character. It's just I don't like the character, so it's not
yeah.
interesting to me that we're gonna spend more time with him.
Oh, I see what you. Yeah, I agree. Especially if he's like one. Like it's him and Starlight that escaped the final like crackdown of the secret agents and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if they have Kimiko or not. They just, it just seems like
No, they got her.
they got her right.
Because
Yeah,
Frenchie
okay.
walked away because I don't know if you watched Gen V, but
Not yet, not
Gen
yet.
V,
But I
it's
hear that's
interesting they did it that way because I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, these characters are such big players in Gen V.
Yeah,
Like that's a great show, by the way. But like, it's like, oh wow, they just assume you watched Gen V.
yeah,
For
yeah.
for
That's
these characters,
where
especially the guy that's holding Kimiko, like just knowing what he's capable of, you're like, oh shit. Like, and I
Mhm.
understand I'm saying that from the privilege of being able to see it already, and
Mhm.
that it's not like it was lost on you what was happening. It's just
Yeah.
interesting that they seamlessly integrated those characters in there as if everyone already knows who they are.
Yeah. That to me was like a big thing where I'm like, who are these characters? And then I watched some reviews. Like, oh, okay, I gotta watch Gen V, which I probably knew, but I didn't realize that they were working their way to making these shows intersect so well.
Oh,
Which
what?
is,
I mean, that's the
you know,
thing. If you watch Gen V, you'd know that everything has to intersect because like
gotcha.
Homelander's in Gen V.
Oh yeah. I saw some screenshots of
So
that, so
like
that makes sense.
it makes sense that those characters are with him now. But
Gotcha.
like anyway, yeah, they've got Kimiko
Yeah.
because that guy he grabbed onto her and she was like, "Oh, I can't break out of this."
Right. They're just trying to separate the both of them and all that kind of stuff. That makes sense. Yeah. I guess we got to rate this thing now.
Yeah. I'll give this an 8.5.
I'm right there with you. I was gonna be like, this is gonna be a 9, but there was just so much awkward wheels and mud spinning this season that I'm like, yeah, it's definitely the weakest of probably on par with season one, but to me, it's one of the weakest. Now, that being said, still
Still
really,
great.
really
Still great
good,
stuff.
but objectively not as well done as season three. I think season
Yeah.
three is
Also,
strongest.
I fucked up. I in my head I thought I was saying 9.5 and I listened back and I said 9. I definitely meant season 3 was 9.5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh I'm hoping that I said 8.5 for this season. But yeah, I
Oh yeah,
think
you
that
said
it's
8.5.
okay. It is
Yeah.
a strong season of TV in terms of stuff we like to talk about
Correct.
being explored. But it didn't meet the highs of season 3 and 2 in terms of introducing new characters and giving them
Mhm.
a proper platform to feel uh, the weight of them, like a
I agree.
Stormfront, or even like how they did Stan Edgar from season 1 to 2, Stormfront
Yep.
season 2, obviously Soldier Boy season 3, and I don't know. For me, I was just like, oh yeah, season 3 or season 4 ends with Soldier Boy in the case. I'm like, I don't know. That's how season 3 ended. I don't do I, what I thought there was gonna be. I was hoping something else would happen, but
Mhm.
I'll be happy to see him back. I'm not gonna act like he's not an interesting character, but it is just kind of like it. I felt like that really did nail home to me. Like, oh, they're just setting things up this season.
Yep.
Because why not have that be something that Homelander has to deal with?
I mean, and it
Earlier
would
on.
be kind of silly if he didn't find out when he's in the position that he's in and they've declared
No, I
martial
think
law.
they wrote
I-
themselves into
yeah.
a nice guarded off area of like, hey, no one was gonna tell him until he had the right stooge in place. But
Right.
it is kind of like, I don't, anyway, we already rated it. It's fine. I just feel like the Soldier Boy thing. I was like, how was he not just a part of it this
Mhm.
like at some point in the season?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think they fumbled with enough of the new characters that it's just like, okay, I understand why they didn't
Yeah.
do it.
Because I like
Yeah.
Sister Sage, not Stage, but I feel like they sidelined her for too long in those like final episodes.
Yeah.
And that's just a like personal selfish thing of like I liked the way she operates, so I wanted to see more of it.
Yep, very true.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. We're part of That Shelf Podcast Network with other great shows like Bad Game Movies, Contra Zoom Pod, Springfield Googleplex. So go to thatshelf.com. You'll find those shows, our show, and more shows. If you want to hear older episodes, go to the podcast platform of your choice and rate, review, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, or go to tdferything.com/spoiledrotten. You'll find our old shows there. And you can follow us at tdfspoiled on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. If you are inclined to write a long thing, then why not email us at spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you very much, and we'll be back next week. Goodbye.
Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.